to have you. I just went by introducing you, and all it is that you do in our generation. And I'm sure that that would feed into everything that we're going to be talking about today. Okay, so to everyone on the call, I want to encourage you to take your and just listen and look for a word, look for an insight that you can embrace and run with as we go forward today. The theme for today's discussion is leading with vision, right? It's about finding courage, it's about forging clarity, it's about fostering connection. So, irrespective of where you are in the work stream, whether you're a manager or you're just a direct employee, we're going to have this conversation in the light of how is it relevant to you. So it's not position based or office based. It's relevant to you as an individual. And I think we can get right on. Should you have questions prior to the session already, there would be a time where questions will be welcome. So questions that are relevant to you and particular to you, we want to take those on board and talk about them so that others could learn. Okay, so again, welcome, Pastor Rob. So good to have you. So let's dive right into it. So leading with vision. Let's talk about vision as a foundation for today's conversation. What is vision? Okay, and what's the connection between vision and purpose? So we're looking at two questions to start this off this evening, right? What is vision, and what is the connection between vision and purpose? Thank you, Pastor Rob.
Thank you, Pastor Emmanuel. I thank you for having me on. Thank you. I want to say thank you to the team. It's a privilege, honor to be here, and I don't take it for granted. Let's talk about vision as it relates to purpose, right? I think it's very important the way you put it. Vision as it relates to purpose. Vision is the picture of your future as it relates to your essence for existence. I think it's important that we marry both of them together, right? Because vision can become anything when it is not in view of purpose. Anything can become your vision when it is not in view of purpose. Well, but when it is in view of purpose, um, uh, then it has to be precise, right? Because a terrorist that takes it, but that envisions taking a bomb to blow up like maybe a shopping mall and kill people, we'll call that his vision. But does that capture the essence for his existence? It doesn't. So that cannot be termed vision. So in the context in which we are speaking right now, vision has to be the picture of the future in relation to your essence for existence, right? And basically, what I'll say about your essence, one's essence for existence, is the fact that your essence for existence will always be about, this is the constant about it, it will always be about adding value to humanity. It will always be about solving humanity's problems, right? So whatever your vision is in relation to the essence for your existence, it will always be in total, it will always be about solving humanity's problems.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And I think for everyone on the call, the reason why we're having this conversation, piecing together vision and purpose, is the fact these are two terms that have to go with each other. And what Pastor Rob has actually said, which is that vision is the picture, right, of the future, or within the context of the essence for your existence, I think it makes a whole lot of difference. It means that vision is more well defined within the context of purpose. In fact, I believe it was Miles Monroe who put it this way, not his words exactly, but vision is the vehicle to actualize purpose. So for everyone on the call, you have a sense of purpose, the essence for your existence, right? Why it is your life, why it is you where you are today. Typically, it goes beyond that. Vision then becomes the vehicle to actualize that purpose. And so it means that if we heard Pastor Rob well, that we cannot engage vision outside of purpose, that it is very healthy and productive when vision is engaged with outside of purpose. So you're on the call, you have a sense of your purpose and you've probably written that down. You also want to think about the vision that you have and match it, right? How does it relate to that essence for existence that has been communicated to your heart? Thank you so much, Pastor Robert. I think building on that as we explore further the concept of vision, right, and purpose, the next thing we want to talk about then is leading with vision. All right. So now that we understand what vision entails and its connection to purpose, okay. So just a few moments. I think our guest might have dropped off the call. Okay. Well, back. Well, yeah, I was just about delving into the second question because I think we've laid a very solid foundation, vision and its context of connection to purpose. So the next question, right, is what then does leading with vision entail for a person, right? What does leading with vision entail?
Thank you, Pastor Manuel. So let me answer it from this perspective. Every time people hear about leadership, the first thing that comes to their mind is pioneering something. So we had presumed that the moment you are called a leader, it means you have to be in an organization, you have to be at the forefront, you have to be the CEO, you have to be the manager or something. I think it's important that we put this now in perspective because let me use Peter for instance, right? Among the disciples, that Jesus was the leader of the disciples, right? But you could see the leadership abilities, or you could see Peter's leadership when he was among the disciples. He did not need to be in the forefront of things, yet he was a leader. This is the reason why when Jesus said, "Who do men say that I am?" I want us to pay attention to this scenario now. Just ask the question, "Who do you say that I am?" They said, "Oh, what do men say that I am?" They said all kinds of things. When he said, "Who do you say that I am?" Everyone went quiet. And then Peter spoke. And when Peter spoke, he said, "You are the Christ, Son of the only living God." When Peter spoke, Jesus said, "Flesh and blood has not revealed this to you." At that point in time, Peter was pioneering. Peter basically gave a perspective of Christ that was not generally accepted. He gave something, he was pioneering something, but yet he was following. So you can be a leader, yet a follower. You can lead from wherever you are. You can in quotes be the least in your department. You can in quotes be the least in your organization, yet lead. I can give you another example. Gideon. When the angel came to Gideon, he said, "You mighty man of valor, the Lord is with you." Gideon said, "Mighty man of valor, me, the Lord is with me." He said, "In fact, let me put this in perspective for you in case you don't know who I am, because it's clear you don't know for the things you are saying right now. In my nation, my my tribe is the least. In my tribe, my family is the least. In that family, I am the least. How can I be mighty man of valor?" So leadership has nothing to do with position. However, leadership will always ultimately put you in a position, but it does not necessarily start with a position. So it's important that we understand you can lead from anywhere. I think it's John Maxwell that wrote the book 360 Leader. You read that book, you come to understand that anyone can lead from any position. If you watch football, for instance, like you're a football fan, you will see that the captain is not always the striker who is usually in front of the team, right? The captain can actually be the goalkeeper at the back, but he's making things happen. So when we talk about leadership, it does not necessarily speak to position in a team, position in an organization. Sorry, a position in a team or position in an organization. It basically it speaks of leadership from the visionary leadership now in quote. It basically speaks of capturing a picture of the future and leading from whatever position you occupy in an organization or wherever you are.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I think that the last words you have just said should be framed. Should be framed. It's about capturing a picture of the future and lead from wherever you are, irrespective of your position. And I think this is very important to talk about because some of us are waiting until we start to pioneer something before we lead with vision. But it's really marking time You have this great idea. You feel it might not be time to release that idea. You've timed maybe 2 years from now is the time to put out that idea. And you've said to yourself, it is then that I will start to lead with vision. I think part of what this conversation doing is that it's attending to that narrative that you can lead with vision wherever you are. And at the start of this you discussed today, one of the things that I said is this conversation should be and is designed and intended for everyone across all levels. So you might be a manager by position, you might not be a leader by position, you might not be a C-suite executive, but it's possible to lead with vision across board. And if we go beyond the Bible, I mean, you pointed us to Gideon, right? Other people like Nehemiah, like Jephthah, but then also in 21st century context, we find people like Abraham Lincoln, right? We find people like Billy Graham, who were those very weak men, who were in themselves not necessarily men that were tuned to positions, but they captured the sense of the vision and they started to lead from where they were. So one question that you probably want to reflect on as we move to the next question is, within my context, am I leading with vision? As a follower, do I lead with vision? As a leader, do I lead with vision? So thank you so much, Pastor Rob. I think the next question would build on this question that you've just attended, which is because you ended by saying that leading with vision is about capturing that picture of the future, right? And enacting it across all levels wherever you are. Now, what do you do, okay, when you have received a sense of vision? Okay, the vision has come in, you've received the sense of vision. What next do you do? Right. So now we want to practically explore what leading with vision entails. What are the practical marks for someone who is leading with vision? So you've caught a sense of the vision, right? What next? What next should you do? Right. And I think as a layer to that question, so we'll make it a two-folded question, is what do you do when you have received vision, but vision is not quite clear? So we could take it as a pronged question. I mean, we could tidy up the first one and then feed into the second one. Thank you.
It's perfect the way perfect the way you framed the question already, because I think the first point I'm going to point out is going to answer both of them together. If you look at Habakkuk chapter 2, usually we usually quote Habakkuk chapter 2, 1 and verse 2. But to understand 1 and verse 2, you need to go to Habakkuk chapter 1 and see that if you read Habakkuk chapter 1, it's almost like he was complaining all through. But if you check every single thing he was doing there, he was talking about the realities of his people. He was talking about the suffering of his people. He was talking about the things that he saw. That's why it's important that we understand true vision will always capture the essence for your existence. And usually the essence for your existence will have to do with adding value to people and solving humanity's problems, right? So you see a lot of that in Habakkuk chapter 1. Chapter 2 now, he says, I will stand upon my watch. I think this points to how to receive vision, right? That I will stand upon my watch. I will set me upon my tower, and I shall see what he shall say. So if you're a person of faith, we understand that vision is received from God. I think at this juncture, it's important to differentiate between ambition and vision. Ambition and vision is not one. They are not one and the same, right? So ambition is your picture of your future that is you centered. Vision is the picture of your future that captures the essence for your existence, and the essence of your existence will always have to do with adding value to humanity and solving humanity's problems. Now that you have received the vision, what do you do? Habakkuk 2:2 answers the question for us. It says, write the vision. It's important that we take note of what we have received. Very important. Write the vision. Then it goes on to say, make it plain upon tables. So first thing is write the vision. The purpose for writing the vision is preserving it. Because when you write the vision now, it's possible for the mind to forget, right? It's possible for the mind to forget. So it's one that we write the vision. In writing the vision, we preserve it. That's the first step. That thing you have received, that picture you have seen, capture it in written format. Because if you read Read down, you understand. Vision goes beyond, visions go beyond the person who captures the vision, even in their lifetime. Because the fact that you're the one that's captured the vision does not mean you're the only one who will work for its accomplishment, or work ultimately to the manifestation of the vision. So it's important that you write down the vision. One of the reasons why you must write down the vision is because beyond your own lifetime, another generation will come to run on that vision. Another generation will come to build on that vision. And the Bible says something. It says, there arose a generation. In fact, it says, there arose a king, that a pharaoh that knew not Joseph. Right? So something must not have been captured about the man, that other pharaoh will come and not even know the man and will treat his own people in a certain way. Then just another part of the scripture says that there arose a generation that knew not the Lord, right? The word there is easier that they had no experiential knowledge. But you see, for someone to have experiential knowledge of something, he must have read about the thing enough to desire an experience of the thing. So it's, if your vision is going to be sustained in your lifetime and it's going to outlive you. Writing it is what is important. So write the vision. Then it goes on to say, make it plain upon table. Now, making it plain is a process. It's not just a one-time event. Making it plain, because as you grow, it will become, when you write out the vision, you capture the vision. As you grow, it will become plain to you. It's you have more understanding of the vision, because there are things God has said to us, God has said to me years ago, that I am now understanding better now. So the key thing is write the vision so you don't deviate to the right or to the left from it. But as you grow in your understanding of things, it will become more clear to you. So I would say the first step, and in fact, a very important step, moving on from vision, is capturing it, is writing it down, making it plain upon tables. Because it goes on to say that they might run that read it, showing you there are other people who will come and run with that vision. Your ability to capture the vision and make it plain is key to running with the vision.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pastor Rob. And before I just sort of reiterate what Pastor Rob has said on the call about what next to do when you have received the vision and what to do when it appears the vision is not clear, is the fact that from a Christian's perspective, and I want to appreciate everyone on the call who may not necessarily be a Christian, you have a place in this conversation. You really do, because it's an open conversation. It's not restricted to only Christians, as it were. It's a conversation that anyone can be a part of, right? But we do believe that vision has a source, right? And from that perspective, the source of our vision is God. That is what we believe. And so in this sense, what Pastor Rob has said with us is, you've got a vision or a sense of a vision, right? Writing it down is about preserving it, right? And I want to challenge everyone, positively challenge everyone on the conversation today. If you have received glimpses of vision or revision and you haven't documented it, today provides that opportunity to document it, right? Today provides that opportunity to document it. I remember several years ago when I started to have an understanding of the essence of my existence. In other words, the purpose that has been allotted to me. One of the greatest things that I'm grateful for is that in that moment I wrote it down, because it's as though year in, year out, I revisit it. I revisit it and I look at it. It's preserved in that sense. So I want to positively challenge everyone on the call. If you have a sense of vision that you have not documented, you have an understanding of the essence of your existence, in other words, God's purpose for your life, and you have not yet documented it, please do. Another thing that I understood from what he said is giving it time. Making it plain is a process, right? But the end goal is that as people run with it, lives are transformed. Again, taking us back to the initial point that he made. Vision is tied towards solving humanity's problems, right? Adding value to life. Okay. I see a point here by faith. I say, so you're saying that more often than not, most of us write down the ambition and not the vision. Interesting. Pastor Rob, do you have any take on this? Do you want to respond to this?
Yes, thank you, Pastor Emmanuel. It's just the fact. Most of us write down our ambitions and not vision. And then, of course, the definition already helps you understand. It is basically about you, is what you want to do. Some of us, because, of course, as kids, and there's nothing wrong with ambition, actually, but it is just not vision. It is just not vision. Many a times, while growing up, we see someone doing something. And because we're inspired by what the person is doing, we aspire to want to do what the person is doing. We are inspired and then we aspire. We want to do exactly what the person is doing. It does not necessarily mean that is what we are called to do. For instance, I think most pastors maybe might have this experience. I first started out singing, right? That's what I thought I was going to do. If I wa- There was a day a friend of mine said to me, he gave me a CD, then CDs of Bishop T.U. Jakes, and asked me to watch. And my response to him was, "You guys, God called you guys to preach, so you watch preaching. God called us to sing, so we listen to, you listen to music, we score music, we do all of that." It was along the line. Now, I told him God called him to preach. He should watch messages. Me, God called me to sing. I should listen to music. The funny thing is, today I'm preaching, I'm not singing. When I caught the vision, I came to discover I was called to teach the word of God. But you see, singing was a pathway to what I was called to do. And I had ambitions. If you see, and I wrote this down. If I started a music group, we started singing, we started going for concerts. We had everything planned out from year 1 to year 10, what we were going to be doing, how we're going to be hosting our own worship conferences and all of that. But today, where are all of those things? Gone, right? Because that was my ambition. When vision came, it was clear that that was not what I was called to do. That was not what I was called to do. And that which I was called to do began to bless life. So while my ambition entertained people, vision transformed lives.
Wow. Wow. That's so powerful. And there was something that you said there for anyone who is beginning to, okay, are you saying that ambition is negative in that sense? Um, but I think you've clarified that. And the reason why I think you've clarified that is you've been able to draw that line, right? The conversation here is not that you cannot have an ambition, right? But you might come to realize, as it was the case with Pastor Rob, that you might start off with an ambition, but as you start to journey into it, right, and you stay connected to the source of vision, what started off as ambition could then be modeled into a vision. Just reminds me of Saul. For those of us who may be on the call and are not Christians, so there's a biblical Saul whose name eventually got changed to Paul. What he had vision to kill all the Christians, to neutralize everyone who identified as being a member of the way. That was an ambition, and he went to the heights to achieve that. Think about the Tower of Babel and those who attempted to build the Tower of Babel. And again, if you're not a believer, this is in the Bible book. It's in the Bible, right? A group of people gathered together and they had an ambition to build a structure that will reach to the heavens. And they went on with it in unity, in agreement, in consonance, in harmony. Okay, but a point came where, because the source of that ambition was not centered on the source of vision, it had to disintegrate. And so maybe what you have now is an ambition. The conversation is not necessarily that you should discard it, but the conversation is that as you walk, look to the source of vision to fill your heart and make room for him, right? As it was in Pastor Rob's case, how he moved from singing, right, to now teaching the word, and that is vision, and that is vision. Okay, I think that one of the very important things that will be beneficial as we continue this conversation is for you to reflect on the sense of the vision that you have received, and document it. I really want to encourage you to. And if you have not received a vision directly, think about this. What organization are you serving in that has a vision? What's the vision of your church? What's the vision of your youth fellowship? What's the vision of Kindle Light if you're a part of that organization? To lead with vision is about capturing that picture and running with it. It's as simple as wherever you are, if there is a ladder, wherever you are, It's about capturing that vision and running with it. But I know that what I've said might make it sound so simple. Just capture the vision and run with it. But it's not always the case. In real life, we had people who had an impossible mountain in front of them when it came to running with a vision. And that brings me to my next question. What if you have a sense of the vision? You have a sense of the picture, but courage is failing you. You're more aware of your inabilities. You're more aware of your inadequacies. You're more aware of your lack than you were able to take on the vision and run with it. And that's not strange. Even in the Bible, people who were in that position. So then what do you do? How do you find courage? How do you courage to embrace and to run with vision?
Very important question. Because let me go to Joshua in scripture to establish this. I think it's important that we understand or we note that Joshua had been with Moses for years. Joshua had fought battles and won, as at the point where God came to him and began to make the vision clear to him. And now you are going to lead these people into the promised land and establish them there. So vision was established with him at that point. Now, this is the thing. God, this is a man who had won battles, but God still had to tell him, be strong and very courageous. So it's important that we understand that courage is needed to accomplish visions. Courage is needed. There is no substitute for courage. Courage is needed to accomplish visions. But God said to him, said, be strong and very courageous. That was God speaking to Joshua. So I'm going to say, first of all, the first place to draw courage from is the one who has sent you. We're our faith-based people here. You're a faith-based person, the one who has sent you. Have faith in the one who has sent you. That God who has given you this vision, the source of vision now, God who has sent you to accomplish this mission, has enough faith in the abilities he has put in you to accomplish it, that he is able to send you to do it. For instance, if I have a lot of respect for Pastor Emmanuel. So if Pastor Emmanuel calls me today now, says, Pastor Robert, I'll need you to help me go do this, right? Because of the level of respect I have for him, right? That the level of respect I have for him and one I have for him. If he's telling me to go somewhere and do something, it means that there is something he sees in me that makes him say, go here and do this. If that thing were not in me, he would not be saying that. So if there was nothing in you to accomplish vision, God would not be setting you out to accomplish it. So you draw courage from the fact that God believes in you enough to say, I want you to get this done. That's point number one. Point number two is important that we find courage in little wins or in wins, right? It's important that we find courage in little as we grow. It's not just courage to start, but you even need courage to continue in the vision. Amen. You would need courage to continue the vision, and we must draw courage from little wins. We must remember things that we have accomplished. We must remember things that we have done. For let me give you for instance. When David was going to confront Goliath, there was nobody there who had seen David do anything to trust him to go confront Goliath. But you see, David had to rely on the fact that he had dealt with some stuff before while taking care of sheep in the bush, taking care of his father's sheep. He has dealt with the lion, he had dealt with the wolves that came to take his father's sheep. And he was successful. The Lord gave him the ability gave him the grace to be successful dealing with those things. So he said that this Philistine will be no different from the lion or the animals he had taken care of, while taking care of his father's sheep. So you see, we draw courage from our wins, no matter how little they are. We can draw courage from the things that we have accomplished. You draw courage from the things that you have been able to do, whether as regards accomplishing that vision or as regards accomplishing other things. That if you are able to put certain principles to work and you are able to produce results with a particular thing, you are able to work with principles in this case and accomplish it. Another way we can draw courage is drawing courage from men who have gone ahead of us. I think this is key. Either in that particular field or in other areas of human endeavor. For instance, some years ago, it was inconceivable for anybody to think about going to the moon. I mean, what are you thinking about? Well, we're not even talking about flying first. We're talking about going to the moon. What are you thinking about? It's impossible. We don't have wings to fly. And if we have wings to fly, when we get to a particular, how do we deal with the wind and all of that stuff? But today, that's not something we're talking about. We're Man has broken that barrier. Now, when you look at the things that other people have achieved that were in quotes impossible at a particular point in time, anybody who is telling you right now that it is impossible, you can draw courage from men who have done the impossible. Similarly, in quotes, impossible. You can draw courage from men who have done in quotes impossible things to know that if God has sent you, this thing is not impossible. Why do you draw courage from God? Because with Him, all things are possible. Why do you draw courage from the things that men have accomplished? Because there was a time when other people were telling them, those people too, that it was impossible, but now it is done. And if other men have done things that were impossible, it will be no different with you if you follow the right principles to accomplish them.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Pastor Robin. For anyone on the call here who, you've received a sense of vision, you know in your heart tells you that this is it. You're in that place, and you have it in front of you, but what you're lacking is courage. Um, Pay attention and think about everything he said. Right, number one, the ability of the one who is giving you the vision. Right, that unending, unlimited ability, but that also you've had wins in the past, right? Something that you might have lost sight of. It's definitely worth taking recognition of that. And then others as well, the victory of others, right? Others who have gone on to do impossible things. These, in some way, should encourage your heart that it's possible, right? It's possible to take on courage. And even if you do not feel courageous, because I think that that's something that has limited a lot of people who have a vision, they are waiting to feel courageous. They are waiting to know everything before they do something about what's been given to them. That's not the narrative here. The narrative is do something with what you have got. And that even when you do feel courageous, as you start to take steps, courage starts to build, right? It's a journey as well. The build up of courage is a journey, but it comes with it of steps in that direction. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to look at that vision and see where you can start to take steps in the direction of vision and purpose. Okay, now this leads us to our next question, and I'll encourage you at this point in time, if there are areas of this subject matter you want us to talk about today, please feel free to begin to drop in your questions, your reflections, comments. We look forward to receiving them and speaking about them as we go forward. And if you have insights as well, by all means, feel free to share in the comment section. Okay, so now we've talked about vision and finding courage for vision. Okay, now we want to talk about, and I think we've talked about this already, forging clarity. So maybe we move on to connection because of time. And if time is on our side, we'll come back to talk about what do we do when the vision is seemingly clear, is seemingly not clear. And we might have touched on that already because when you talked about writing it down, it's a process and it starts to get clearer. But now let's talk about fostering connection, right? Fostering connection. Quite difficult to see a person who has accomplished a vision by running alone. In that context, I was looking at a movie yesterday. It was about the life of Billy Graham, and maybe you guys know this already, but his ambition was to be a famous baseball player.